Hello, everybody. Welcome to Planet FPL, the world where everything revolves around fantasy Premier League. My name's Suj.
And my name is James.
Happy Monday, James. We have had the FA Cup semi-finals. We have a title league winner. So an eventful weekend of football in the end.
We have a confirmed relegated three.
We do as well. Yes, you're right. After Ipswich lost to
Which is,
Newcastle.
As you're a West Ham fan and I'm a Tottenham fan, that's good news, isn't
Thank
it?
God. Thank God. I read the schedule for this week's content and I saw on Wednesday that we are doing Tot and Ham, which is a preview of the Planet FPL Derby, which is on Sunday, after you play in the Europa League on Thursday. And in all the seasons of doing the podcast, this is probably the most who cares Planet FPL Derby ever. I was thinking about this yesterday, James. We are probably the only team in the league that could bottle it against a completely rotated Spurs team that have had to play Europa League 3 days before. And you are the only team that will probably turn around and say, I know you want to bottle it, but it's okay. We'll bottle it against you bottling it, and you can have it with our reserve team. It's shit v shot. Like, it's going to be the worst game. And I don't envy you going to watch it, actually, to be honest with you.
It's only down the road, isn't it?
Yeah, it's fine. But yeah, you never know. You might just get a ridiculous bonkers 4-3 or a 5-4
Although
because everybody's just awful.
I did make one of my best decisions of the season back in January, actually. Was me and Dad walking out of Anfield after the League Cup semi-final second leg. Coming back here up in here again in April.
Listen, you were 1-0 up for a little while, and you probably
but no one even said. I mean,
yeah.
I watched the game at home, but there was no point. I was like, "Oh yes, Dom," but there was no point celebrating. And then we thought, "Oh, Tottenham are going to win now." Like, there's no chance, was there?
No, indeed. Let's quickly talk about the FA Cup semi-final. So, Crystal Palace, obviously, with a handsome win over Aston Villa. Congratulations to the Eagles making it to the final. They're definitely going to have a really good day out. And Manchester City comfy 2-0 again against Forest. Forest did have chances in that game, but in the end, Manchester City kind of going through and obviously clear favourites for the final. But it is a final, and Palace do have qualities. We've seen that they can give City trouble. They have up at the Etihad before, and on any given day, it can go either way. City obviously favourites to end the season without a trophyless campaign for them will be quite important, I think.
Yeah, super victory for Palace. They were devastating on the counter attack. I mean, they had not a lot of the ball in the game at all, but were devastating when they had it. Eze, Sarr and Mateta up front, the three of them were brilliant. And it's probably the best I've seen of Adam Wharton this season as well. They largely defended pretty well. Just underwhelming day from Villa, actually. Kind of feels like Champions League and top five after losing at City, and then this semi-final feels like it might have all fallen away for them in one go. Not that they're out of the running to qualify for the Champions League. They've still got a chance and a couple of good fixtures to go. We'll talk about one of them in a sec, no doubt. I felt for Forest yesterday, I think they had a strategic plan with Elanga not starting, that their idea principle was to hold City for as long as they could and then try and beat them at the end. But then to concede within the first minute, it's like game plan's gone. They really struggled in the first half, Forest. But in the second, they had good chances. I think it would work 3 times in the end, didn't they? And they can obviously, it's disappointing for them, but I think their focus was always primarily going to be on this at the end as well. It was no way Forest were going to be rotating players. I think that said, Elanga's kind of high on the agenda for me, and him not starting yesterday is a bit of a head scratcher, but I think he'll be back in the team for the game at Crystal Palace next Monday. Obviously, they've still got Brentford this game week. I've forgotten about that, so because I don't have any Forest or Brentford assets, I'm trying to pretend that it's not happening. I'm just moving on to next week already. There is a consequence, obviously, of these semi-finals. So the FA Cup final is the weekend of match day 37. The Manchester City and Bournemouth and Crystal Palace versus Wolves fixtures will now not happen that weekend. I think it's unlikely that the Crystal Palace Wolves fixture is brought forward to game week 36, because that would mean Palace having to play at Tottenham on the Sunday, Wolves on the Wednesday, and then the Cup final on the Saturday. It can happen, but I don't think it will. Manchester City versus Bournemouth being brought forward is more likely because that fixture can sit on the Tuesday night. I actually think those two fixtures will probably both be scheduled for the Thursday in game week 37, therefore rendering the game week 36 double as having none. Unless the Premier League grant a request from Super Tottenham Hotspur to bring forward their fixture with Aston Villa, which is now scheduled for 7 p.m. on the Sunday night in game week 37, little over 72 hours before a potential Europa League final. Obviously, the football club could not wait till the semi-final with Bodo was done to put the request in. So if anyone's like, oh, they're assuming they're going to beat Bodo. No, from the fans' perspective, they've got to do it. And Tottenham fans who wanted to travel to Villa would have been started booking trains as soon as that Forest City game was done, because that would have confirmed either a 2:15 kickoff or a 7 p.m. kickoff. So they had to make the announcement yesterday following Villa's defeat against Crystal Palace, because if Villa had won, Villa Tottenham definitely would have got brought forward to the Wednesday in game week 36. As per reports last night, and not unexpectedly, Villa have written back to the Premier League and said, no, we're against this, and quite rightly so. Villa have got to look after their own best interests. Tottenham are asking because they're looking after their own interests. I think if it was, as I said yesterday morning, if it was any other league in Europe, the game would get brought forward to probably the Thursday. Saturday won't be the Saturday because they won't have anything clash with the FA Cup final. Chelsea Man United is already scheduled for the Friday night, so there's no need to bring Manchester United's fixture forward. If it was brought forward to the Thursday, I would assume that would become part of game week 36. But I think what's most likely to happen here is the game will stay at 7 o'clock on the Sunday night, most likely, and Tottenham will just put out a reserve team. So one way or the other, this is a simple sell for you from a fancy perspective. Ollie Watkins will be the best captain in either game week 36 or game week 37, but I don't know which one yet.
Understood, James. For me, from a kind of chips point of view, and people that have chips, some will have been looking to try and bench boost in that week, if possible. Though in 36, potentially, if they'd managed to get 2 or 3 doubles out of it, that's not going to happen now. So really, you just.
I mean, in theory, as we sit here right now, it could be that 6 teams double in game week 36. It could be, but it's more likely to be none.
Yeah. I'm more looking at it from my Arsman point of view, James, because that's the only chip that I now have left. I was really hoping that Wolves would double in 36. But I don't think that's likely at all, is it really now? That Palace game being before is not likely.
Let's move on to talking about teams. And we'll look at your team first. What are you going to do with this arse, man? Because we'd highlighted ages ago, look at them 3 games for Wolves at the end, and now none of them are bonus, mate.
They're too good, aren't they? I've ended up at the moment. I'm on.
They beat 6 shit teams. Well done, but they beat 6 shit teams.
Yeah. They have all of their victories have been in the teams in and around them. So fair play, but they've been in good form. Like they'll give City a game at the weekend. I've no doubt about that. And quite a few of those victories were without Cunha, even though that is self-inflicted. I'm on 72 points at the moment, which is a very small red arrow, but I do have Bomo and Milenkovic to go on Thursday. So just the appearance points alone, any return out of one or either of them should see me into a green arrow. But again, it's going to be pretty flat green arrow, sitting at 100 and maybe 120k or something like that is where I'll be. I captained Isak over Salah. I made the call, James, on Friday that the reality is, like, I'm not one of those FPL managers or FPL content creators with like a stellar rank history that I'm trying to protect, right? I'm not there with like, I don't know, 5 top 20k finishes or whatever. I've never finished with a 5-figure rank, albeit that one year that I nearly did. I shit the bed on the final day by missing the deadline. So what am I doing?
Gameweek 38 deadline. It's not even till the Sunday, bro.
Yeah, I know, but look, it happened. This season I haven't missed a single deadline yet, so there is hope for us still. What am I doing then at the end of the day? Am I playing defensively just to get myself that 5-figure rank? I may as well have a bit of fun. So between now and the end of the season, I decided I'm going to go differential. As differential as Isak really isn't really differential, but obviously it was more differential than Salah. So I captained Isak. I'd bought in Cunha, Ait-Nouri, Van Dijk, Mbomo, and Milenkovic. Now, two of those transfers, obviously Ait-Nouri and Cunha, have done well. The other two to be confirmed. I own Jared Bowen and have been carrying him through, so it was nice to pick up his points. And then Murphy and Livramento returned for me as well. Salah was a loser, regardless, because obviously I didn't captain him. So his 8 points didn't actually help me. Two blanks this week, Areola and Virgil van Dijk. And Van Dijk's blank particularly hurts because the truth is, other than that goal and maybe the first 10 minutes, like they should have kept Liverpool, if they concentrated or even made a bit of an effort, they should have kept a clean sheet. But yeah, 72 points in any normal game week, that would have been a good score. But with the amount of free hits flying around and people pushing into the 90s and hundreds, it isn't. But it's kept pace, I would say. So let's see what happens. And Boma goes off big, and I'll see a decent green arrow. But other than that, nah. I'm fairly okay set for this week. Like Henderson in goal, Forest at home, that's fine. Milenkovic, Van Dijk, and Gvardiol. I've got Rodgers, Murphy, Salah, Bomo, Marmoush, Isak, Cunha. First sub is Bowen. I need to decide how I'm going to get Bowen into the team. Exactly that.
For anyone.
Bowen
is captainable this weekend. That's not a joke.
I get it.
Captaincy's wide open this week.
Yeah, I may bench Murphy and play Bowen. Murphy's got Brighton away. Bowen's got Tottenham at home. My armband at the moment, James, is on Bumo.
I might be doing the same, yeah.
My armband's on Bumo. So, and the vice is on Salah. Keep it safe, but that's probably just the placeholder. My armband's on Bomo. If we got an announcement that Palace Wolves was in 36, James, I will buy Pereira for the Arseman this week.
And go, City away and then the
Pereira, and then move it on in 37 to whatever I fancy. Maybe even Potter. No joke.
It really doesn't look good now.
No, I think if I can get, I'm looking at if I can get 4 fixtures, I'll be happy, but I'm not even likely to get that. My goal is 25 points from Arseman now.
How much money have you got in the bank?
Plenty.
Okay. So you haven't got to move money to put an Arseman in?
No. I've got 3 million as it stands right now.
I'm just thinking in terms of you wanting to go kind of differential for what's left. I don't know if you're worth using 2 transfers here on the Arseman. Something like, I'm just looking at this for you. Glasner this week, home to Forest. Then Moyes away to Fulham. And then maybe Potter at home to Forest in 37. Or the only one really that you could go, if you launch now, the only 2 that you can go with who have got 2 games across 35, 37 is Hertzler and Iriola. Iriola's Arsenal and City away. That's not great. Hertzler's Newcastle and Liverpool at home. Hertzler's
Arsenal and City away.
And
though the only thing with Iriola is they are bonus games.
No. That's what I'm saying. Those are the only 2 that have got 2 bonus games over the next 3 game weeks if you activate it now. Consider Moyes now. So you got Fulham away as a bonus in 36, Ipswich and Southampton as 2 home games either side. I think if it was me, truthfully, I'd be hoping that City Bournemouth got brought forward to 36, and I'd go Pep now. I'd go Pep for Wolves at home, Southampton and Bournemouth as the double, and then punt, say, Potter against Forest.
Something in the last week, yeah.
Or Hertzler against Liverpool in the last week in 37. It's not. We always thought Pereira was going to be the get out. I can't believe that the way it's gone now, as it stands, none of them 3 Wolves games from 36 to 38 are bonuses. So I think you're almost definitely using the transfer on an Arseman here.
Yeah, and I'm open to that because the squad's set up fine. Like I've got enough cover on the bench and stuff like that. So,
would you even consider if none of the fixtures get brought forward from 37 to 36? Would you even consider just going Pep now and just going Wolves, Southampton, Bournemouth? It's flat, isn't it? It's like a max kind of 30, isn't it?
Yeah. I want to chase some bonus, James.
No, I hear you.
I want to chase some bonus. Like at this point, I may as well have a bit of fun with it, right?
Well, I think this week, if you're doing that, then it's Really, it's Herzl or Glasner. Brighton at home to Newcastle, Palace at home to Forest. The only other two bonus games this week is Iriola at Arsenal. And I don't think Arsenal will rotate massively because there's 4 day gaps between the PSG games. And I know Wolves are an incredible run. City away, though. It's
It
different to the
is.
games
It's
they've
at the
had.
Etihad. Yeah, it's at the Etihad. So yeah, I'm not sure what I'm going to be doing with it.
And in
As
36,
it
as it
stands.
stands, the only one with bonus, except for the bottom 3, is Moyes at Fulham, as it stands.
Yeah, it's dried up, hasn't it?
Shocking.
It's dried up a lot.
Yeah, it's bad. Anyway, not mean to
How was your?
depress you or anything.
No, it's all good. Whatever it is, it will be extra points, right? So take it as it is.
My week was okay. I mean, under the circumstances, pretty praised. 73 -4 for me. I bought Cunha and Luis Diaz from -4. So big gain, obviously, off that, particularly because of Cunha. I've done all right this week. Like, my only attacker who didn't return was Clivert. Captained Mo, bits off Murphy and Isak. I had Bowen, obviously brought in Diaz and Cunha. Even the 10 points from Colwell and Pickford in the first game, I was pretty happy with that. I've ended up with 10 because Castagna didn't even get on the pitch, and I knew he was highly unlikely
It
to
was a high
start
risk.
considering
Yeah.
Kenny Tetty started against Chelsea. But I didn't deem it worth a -4 knowing that I'd be on wildcard now to get a defender in for 1 week. Obviously, if I could see the scores, then I'm going for Trips tonight. I'm going for Ait-Nouri. I'm going for anything. It's
Mm.
it's it's got to be the first time this season I feel like I've been killed by defenders.
I mean,
Eight
even in the double in 33,
Ait-Nouri,
though, a lot of the
Sarr,
points came from defenders. But obviously you had an all right defense then.
the Wolves and Newcastle clean sheets plus the likes of Sarr, Ait-Nouri, Trippier, Burn, Hauling basically, and obviously that Ryan Sessegnon goal at the
Ha.
end. For those who are on
Yeah.
free hit, it's like one of the moments of the season for those who owned him because you'd have seen that he's one I think you'd have been sweating about. You'd be like, is he going to play? Is he going to play? Is he going to play? He's in the team, and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
great. And then you scan through and you're like, hang on, where's Robinson? He's playing left back.
Left back. Yeah.
And yet he still scores from that position in injury time. Incredible return for you if you own. I guess the Jose Sarr penalty save would be an incredible one as well because you're probably looking at that going, 6, 7 points against Leicester. He can't haul, but he's ended up saving the penalty. So some
But
brilliant
that Jose
returns.
Sarr penalty save was as important to Ait-Nouri owners, right? For example, because that would have been a clean sheet wipeout for
And some would
Ait-Nouri
have owned
owners.
both. Yeah, absolutely. So that's yeah, you're right. If you owned both of them, and I've seen plenty of teams that did. I think Andy Slippers. I think he had like Saar, 8, Nori, Trippier, and Sessegnon or something like on
Did
3 years.
he?
It's like extraordinary. That's like 49 points or something by itself. It's incredible. So many on free hit, but obviously had a really good week. I've dropped to 39k. I obviously my game week is over. I don't have any Forest or Brentford coverage, so that's probably subject to what happens. Is obviously well, it's definitely going to get worse than that. But I knew this week was going to be treading water. If I was covered most of the offensive guys, and knew it was the defensive guys could kill me, and they really have.
Yeah, done really well this week. And a really high scoring game week. So if you are a free hitter and you've hit the 100 club, well done. It was needed, and people have done well with it. So yeah, good. Should we talk about some of these games, James?
Let's do that.
We can gloss over your team and my team if you like, but let's start with Chelsea 1, Everton 0. Good goal for Nicholas Jackson. I know a few might have punted on him. Cole Palmer now 17 games without a goal. That's basically half the season.
It's
Like if you'd
extraordinary.
said half a season with no goal in a row, right? A whole block of half a season almost without a goal is incredible. Especially considering I think he's the most shots in the league during that period, definitely for Chelsea. Like it's not like he's not involved in any of the games and has completely become a shadow of himself. Just no end product here all of a sudden.
No, but also at the
Chelsea,
same time, I don't think it's not like when he had the chance against Southampton, the big 1-on-1, and obviously missed the penalty against Leicester. Like since then, there's not really been moments you'd look at after, oh, how did he miss that? Or that was a
yeah,
great effort. Or it doesn't feel like these blanks have been kind of out of keeping with what we've actually been seeing. So it's a regression, isn't it? I mean, for a player that good to not score for that many games is madness. Is
incredible.
it really that
Yeah,
many? 17. That's all comps,
17,
I
mate.
take it.
I'm not sure. I read that on one of the articles reviewing
I
the
think it's
game.
game
I
week
think it might
23
be.
was the last time he scored, didn't he? So it's
Wow.
11 or
It must
12
be all
games
comp
in the
sim.
league.
Yeah, it must be all comp sim. Yeah.
Has he not even scored in the Conference League? I mean, he
No.
might not have. Yeah, I mean, with Chelsea's fixtures and what they've got left, final four trips to Newcastle Forest and obviously Liverpool this week, anyone who's got him still is probably been in. I don't think he's coming with me on the wild card. It's interesting though. There's something for everyone in these last four fixtures because if you look at 37, for example, he might even land it. He's the best captain at home to United. If United are going to mass rotate, if Villa Tottenham got brought forward and Man United were maybe going to mass rotate because they're in the Europa League final, which they probably won't do in the same way because their game's obviously the Friday night. But you think Palmer against United in 37 would be brilliant, scored a hat trick in the same fixture last season. There's something for every team in what's left, but that's all that appeals, really. The others don't so much. So I think he's going to get binned. I don't think I'll be going into this week with any Chelsea on the wild card, Suj. Even though they're
I'm
pretty
not.
much back to full strength. I know Gusto missed out the weekend. Casado obviously played this inverted right back position. Lavia makes such a difference to them. He's such a good young player, but you could never trust him to stay fit, unfortunately, for more than a week at a time. Those who punted Reece James at the weekend would be really disappointed. I've seen a few Sanchez owners out there and Cucurella. They've obviously got decent returns. Cole obviously got a clean sheet for me, but he's not staying. I wouldn't fancy punting Jackson, Madueke or Neto for this run in particularly. So overlooking them, my interest is more in Everton, actually.
Yeah, picking up a defensive one maybe to help you. They've got all right fixtures between now and the end of the season. Definitely playable. Are you keeping Pickford as your goalkeeper, or you think
Well,
it'll be more of a defensive one?
I might just do that. Yeah. The problem is when you're looking, if you're wildcarding kind of this late to the end and you're not prepping for a bench boost or anything like that, which I'm not, you are going to end up going down the rabbit hole of looking at rotations, right? And I can't not look at Ipswich and Southampton as Everton's last two home games and
They're
think I
almost
should
bankers, man.
I should have some of that. And to be honest, I'd like to get one of the forwards. But obviously, Breuer was ineligible at the weekend, so there's every chance he comes back in. And Calvert-Lewin is hoping to be available and in the squad for this weekend as well. So can't go that. McNeil hasn't started yet. I've got no interest in the likes of the Corey, for example. So it probably will be a defensive one. I don't think I'll end up with two, but you'll be one of. I'm pretty sure I'll end up with one of Pickford, O'Brien, or Branthwaite this way. I'd rather pump one of the centre backs for the potential of the big haul. Mikalenko doesn't offer enough fantasy output for the short term, I don't think. So it'd be one of the centre backs, or yeah, I might just stick with Pickford. Such a bit of
Yep.
unrest about Everton fans afterwards. Apparently, really disappointed with the display. Actually, it never truthfully looked like it was really going to score. I
Really,
know
maybe the last 10, 15 minutes.
Sanchez
But
made
yeah,
a couple of good saves, but you and I both said last weekend we thought it would be a really low scoring game, and
I
I don't
predicted
think
a
there's any
0-0.
surprise.
It wasn't massively far off.
I also think there's a big positive for Everton in the sense, obviously, James Tarkowski was missing and he did a right defensively. The goal comes from obviously Chalobah, obviously nipping in, and then Fernandez obviously plays a good pass to Jackson, and he scores. I think that's the first time he scored from outside the box for Chelsea. I think really, really good finish, but I think they were better forwards than Jackson for the running.
Yep. Cool. Let's talk about Brighton 3, West Ham 2. Sorry, on Tarkowski, just before we wrap on Everton, what's the timescale on him?
He'll struggle to make the start of pre-season.
Oh, okay, fine.
Proper
So
hamstring
that's it for
injury,
the
mate.
season. Yeah, done. Brighton 3, West Ham 2. What a way to lose a game of football at the end there.
Go on. Did you watch it?
Yeah, I watched it. And I mean, it was Brighton definitely started the brighter and were getting in behind and created a number of chances. And I thought they were good for their lead, but they didn't like pepper our goals. I think what's his name, Welbeck. He only had the one shot throughout the entire game and what have you. They were definitely playing the better football without maybe racking up the XG or racking up the good quality chances. But West Ham also were a threat on the counter. Kudus was all right. If you look at a lot of the stats from the game, I mean, shots was fairly similar. Big chances was 2 each. XG was about the same for both teams. I mean, it was a good ding-dong. I think even the second half was a good end-to-end game. There was decent enough chances. Could have gone either way. I thought when West Ham came back to 2-1, I think a draw would have been a fair result, put it that way, like 2-2 or something like that. But obviously the Oyari goal and the Baliba goal were worldies, and you can't do anything about that. Like if people are putting it in top bins from outside the box, it's going to be one of
Well,
those
you
days.
can a little bit
Closing
because,
down,
yeah, I mean, on that
keeper
last
do
goal,
better.
it's a brilliant finish, but everything is so wrong about you on that last goal. Like even they take the corner and there's three or four people got their back turned to the play, and then it comes out to the edge of the box after Areola punches it out, and Bowen is closest, and he kind of takes him a while to even think about, oh, I'm going to go and press. So Belieber just thinks, yeah, I'll wrap
I'll
it,
have a
and
shot.
he does. It's a brilliant goal.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, look, Jared Bowen's picked up the 2 assists here. And the second one was a hell of a ball in. Like, I think that goal for Soucek was more about the cross than it was about the finish, to be honest with you, because it was harder to miss at that point. I don't see anything from West Ham that makes me want to invest more. Like Areola is a cheap keeper. If you were buying Pickford and Areola was your rotator, James, you've got Manchester United when in 36 and Ipswich in 38 to go alongside the Ipswich
They're both
Southampton games.
away. If those two were at
That's the only
home,
thing.
I'd be like, yeah,
Ipswich away, fine. Man United away, I'm not as. But Man United away is, around the Europa semi. So maybe there's something to be said for that. It's fine as a rotator, but I just don't know if I was doing that, whether I would just play Pickford with Fulham away. Like Areola at Man United away or Pickford at Fulham away. I'd probably
probably go
pay
Pickford because I just have
Pickford.
more
But
trust in Everton than I would yourselves.
yeah,
Ultimately,
but you can play Areola in the final game at Ipswich. That's perfectly fine. And Jared Bowen continues to return and is the one shining light in amongst the squad. But yeah, difficult times at West Ham, and we'll talk more about it in Tottenham. What's the problem here? Because the debate amongst some of the fans and people I chat to on WhatsApp or whatever is like, Potter's got to sort this out, or is it Potter or is it the players? Because when you look at the players, there's some talented players in there, a lot of talented players in there who individually have done all right in periods, but overall we keep seeming to shit the bed here. So I wouldn't be investing in any West Ham between now and the end of the season. If you do own Bowen, I agree with you. Is he captainable this week? Like my West Ham bias says no, but I can see the appeal with Tottenham are going to have to rotate this week to try and make sure you get through to the final. So I'll be finding a way of getting him back into my team. Yeah, from a Brighton point of view, I mean, that was their first win in 6 in the league, so they had been on a bit of a bad run, but nice for them to get back to winning ways. I just don't know what the interest is between now and the end of the season. Newcastle,
none.
Wolves, Liverpool, Spurs. It just doesn't really appeal.
No, not really. I mean, the fact that 2 home games to Newcastle and Liverpool kind of immediately smacks. The away games, Wolves and Tottenham are fine. I imagine there's every chance of scoring all of those games. But again, there's better forward options for the last forward than, say, Welbeck. I'm not going to invest in any of that defensively. They've kind of done all right at the weekend in the sense, obviously, they've basically only played 2 defenders in Duncan and Estupiñán. You've got Baleba and Weaver both kind of covering out of position in defensive roles because they're short bodies. Did have a few back for the weekend against Newcastle, I should imagine. It was interesting Mitoma didn't start. I know he come on and scored. So I saw a number of free hit teams obviously gambled with him. Nice little punt. That was a shocker that he didn't start, considering he hadn't started at Brentford the weekend before as well. I imagine he's come off the bench and scored in 2 consecutive games. You know what he'll do now? He'll start all of the last 4 and won't score at all.
And do nothing. Yeah, I did think when I saw him coming on, because obviously Wan-Bissaka had missed the previous game with a knock. So I didn't know if Wan-Bissaka was going to last out the entire game. So I thought, okay, Mitoma coming on against the tired Wan-Bissaka could be some joy. But actually then Sofal came on and Wan-Bissaka swapped to the other side because Emerson was the one who got hooked. So he ended up going up against Sofal and has returned there, so done well.
Yeah, I wouldn't rule out a defensive West Ham one for me, but it would only be for cheap reasons, Areola or Wan-Bissaka to use whenever I want. But I don't think I'll go that way. But what I would say, Suj, is there's no way, having owned him for a while, that I'm going to wild card and take Jared Bowen out when he's about to play Tottenham. And actually, I think these fixtures are good. If you look at the next 2, Tottenham and Man United, obviously involved with Europa stuff. If United had extra time against Bilbao before they play you on the Sunday, you're probably going to get a similar United team to what started against Wolves in game week 33. So those two fixtures are better than what they look. Forest at home's last home game. Forest might be in a position where they have to come and win. It might suit you. And then Ipswich away last day is good. So I do think your last four fixtures are good. Therefore, I'm probably going to carry Bowen with, but there's no intention to punt Fulkrug or Kudos or
No, no,
anything
no.
else.
You're not adding nothing there. No.
No.
Good, good.
It's not
Let's
beyond
talk
reason I captain Bowen this week. Like, I'll make that decision after we play Thursday night. Because
Yep.
if we don't win Thursday, I think you may get a literal. I know, like yesterday was kind of like A minus team or a B plus team. You may get a literal B team if we don't win Thursday night.
Let's talk about Newcastle 3, Ipswich 0, obviously punting Isak. I mean, the first 15, 20 minutes, I didn't watch this because obviously I had West Ham on, but I went to check the stats. And I think Newcastle in the first 25 minutes or something had racked up an XG of like 0.02 or something. It was ridiculous. I was thinking, oh, have I made a mistake here? But the Johnson red card obviously has had an impact here. And then they turned up the heat and have ended up winning comfortably 3-0. Isak racked up a decent XG in the game as well. I think his XG was 1.46. Obviously, penalty in there, so that does influence it. But you'd hope. In the end, I'm disappointed actually with the return that I got from Isak.
Yeah.
And anybody that gambled on Trippier, I wasn't so keen on Trippier just because there hadn't been the consistency of form for a while. And I don't really like gambling on players if I've seen nothing to inspire me to think that there is any
one game. No, for free hitters, I think it was the right call.
Yeah, I can understand from a free hit point of view, and it's played off right. He's got 2 assists and a clean sheet here. It's hauled, mega hauled. So max bonus
the cross
points
for
as
Dan
well.
Burns' goal. I don't know how you stop that. Just dinked over the top of the goal. You just got to go and head it. And when you got the 6'7" bloke who's running towards it as well, there's no way you're stopping that from being a goal. So brilliantly executed that. Yeah, Trips I think was because I don't think money mattered too much for free hitters as well. There wasn't a reason, well, is Livramento worth the saving here or that sort of thing. No, I think
The set pieces made it worth it.
Those who went Trips have obviously done right. You're right, you would be very disappointed, I think, with the Isak return. Harvey Barnes owners, very disappointed. So much sweating. Oh, who's going to start? It was more fucking nonsense. Newcastle ITK going around Saturday morning. Gordon starting, and you just got to ignore all that with Newcastle always, guys. There's so much nonsense ITK. There's just so many chances with Newcastle. I don't know why. Every week, people taking a chance on guessing what the Newcastle lineup is. Know your sources and trust them, otherwise ignore them. It's interesting what you say about the kind of basically didn't have a shot in the first 25 minutes. But by half time, they'd had 5 big chances. So the momentum was building.
Yeah,
I have a little bit of sympathy with Johnson on the first yellow card, which I think Joe Hart discussed really well on Match of the Day, actually, in terms of him kind of bracing for the impact, but then the impact never comes. But he's an idiot on the second one. What are you doing, man? And Isak makes sure that Isak does really well. Isak actually drags his own body back on the blind side of the referee to absolutely make sure that he gets booked, and then obviously they've hit him hard from there, and then they've eased through it towards the end as well. So I think for Newcastle, the fixtures are kind of Midland to the end. Isak's going to be touch and go whether he comes in for me or not. You know, I might take it on, but particularly if the Villa Tottenham game did come forward, I could see me going Watkins over Isak.
I'm just looking at the league table here. Look, Newcastle are third on 62, City behind them on 61, Chelsea 60, and then Forest with a game in hand 60. So that top, well, the Champions League place is far from done.
No.
You think Newcastle have the momentum to be able to do it? I like you expect them to be able to, but they do need to get some results. And so I think they'll be targeting that Brighton and Chelsea. If they can win the next 2, then I think they're pretty much done and dusted. So I think they'll be going aggressive against Brighton and Chelsea at home to just win those 2 games. So Murphy and Isak are going to stay for me for a while. Livramento's expendable, but I can hide it on the bench. But I think we'll still see results from Newcastle. I think they'll still do well.
Yeah, I think they'll do it, but
because they need to.
all four of them games have got banana skins. Even Everton at home last days, it's not the like everyone was saying Tottenham was so ideal for Liverpool yesterday. Everton is not the ideal home fixture if you've
No.
got to win, I think, now
Yeah.
with Moyes in there. So yeah, there's sticky games like if they were to get beat at Brighton at the weekend, suddenly there's huge pressure on that Chelsea game in 36. I do think Newcastle will do it. In terms of their assets though, with what's left, no, I think it's possibly going to be Isak or nothing for me. I don't think Murphy's going to come with me now. I think I'm going to say thank you very much. You've been brilliant, but
Yep.
let it go because I'm almost looking at again. If I kept him, he'd probably only start for me in 38 anyway. But I do have a consciousness that I think in 38 specifically, despite what I've just said, I think you will want to target Newcastle, Bournemouth, and Arsenal will be the three where there might not be a lot of ownership. Like, oh, I want to come back to that in 38. So I could hold him through, but I mean, who even knows if he's definitely still starting by the time you get to 38? So I think I'm
Yep.
going to cut him. It's like I don't really want to lose, but at this stage, I might just go aggressively for three other forwards based on fixtures.
Okay.
I
Southampton
I don't
won.
see me captaining him. Put it that way.
No. Southampton won. Fulham 2. We talked about the late Sessegnon goal to turn this into a victory. I heard you say, I think it was on a live stream or maybe in the deadline stream, that of the three teams in the relegation zone, the one that you fancied to score most was Southampton. And that's how it did end up playing out with them taking the lead early on. Yeah.
I think we've seen little improvements from them under Simon Rusk in the three games so far. And I spoke about this last Tuesday. We obviously didn't record last Monday about them feeling like a settled team now. And that's it. That's what they've gone with again. Just another little change in the forward line. But that back three, goalkeeper, and the midfield five all in place. Ross Stewart's obviously started this one. And I said weeks ago, I think they'll go to Leicester and win in game week 35. And I still think they'll go to Leicester and win in game week 35. He might even keep a clean sheet at the weekend, but obviously
The
I'm not.
problem is
I'm not
everything. Yeah,
considering
everything
any of
that
their
follows after
assets.
that is you just can't buy them because then they got City and Arsenal and
I wouldn't
stuff
buy them. I
afterwards.
wouldn't buy them anyway, Suj. If I was on free hit this week, despite the fact it's Leicester away, I don't know if I'd. What would you even do? Oh, I'd take a punt on Sulemana or something. I don't think you would. You don't even know who's going to
No,
play the nine, whether it's kind of Fernandez, OOP, Stewart, Onuachu, if Dibbling comes back in. No, even if you were, which I don't suppose anybody is, on a free hit this week, no, I still wouldn't be looking at them. But I think the key point is they've been more competitive, and that should be factored into your thinking for forthcoming weeks. I don't suppose it will stop Man City going there and winning very comfortably in 36 or Arsenal in 38, but they have been more competitive, and they will have an eye on that goal difference. As long as they don't get slapped in the four games, they're gonna beat Derby's record because their goal difference is much better than what that Derby's team was. And again, I think they'll win at the weekend anyway. Massive result for Fulham because I think with what they've got left, if you're kind of in competition with two or three other teams for a potential Conference League place, which by the way will disappear most likely if Crystal Palace win the FA Cup final. You've got to be winning at Southampton at this stage of the season if you're trying to hold off rivals. They've got themselves in eighth. They're obviously in competition with Bournemouth, Brighton, and possibly Brentford. Brentford have got the best run and obviously got the extra fixture Thursday, but all the others had decent results at the weekend. Obviously, Bournemouth conceded a late goal. But between Brighton, Bournemouth, and Fulham, none of them have got great fixtures for this running. None of them. And that includes Fulham. Villa away, Brentford
yeah,
away. I mean, that Brentford game in 37 could even end up being key. City at home, 38. Could you get a bit of City rotation now they've got to the final if they've got top five wrapped up? Maybe.
maybe.
Everton at home, 36. Don't see me looking at Fulham at this stage either, but really, really important win for them. On Anthony Robinson, he's been carrying a knee problem for a number of weeks. His Wade didn't actually play for USA during the international break. It's not hindering him from playing, but they're obviously keeping an eye on it. And I guess they've made a decision this week to go, right, it's Southampton. Right, we're going to give you a break for this one. So I imagine for Villa, he comes back in the team. If you have bought Sessegnon, he could go back to right wing, but I'm going to guess you probably weren't going to start it away to Villa anyway in
Yep.
most circumstances. You never fancy Villa not to score at Villa Park, do you? Really?
No, I mean their home record is very very good.
and
Right.
Villa will need
It's that
to win.
away record. Those that gambled on Raul Jimenez,
Jimenez
7 shots in the game,
one yellow
XG
card.
0.72. So not bad XG off those shots. Reasonable. You'd have hoped for something. Have
There will
come away with
definitely
nothing.
be some people who went Jimenez rather than Cunha following Vitor Pereira's press conference on Friday. You know what did it for me in the end was thinking about, I suppose this links into the game for, do you want to say it? Wolves 3, Leicester nil.
Wolves 3, Leicester nil.
Well done.
Segue.
Um, I was thinking about, obviously, I was at Molineux a couple of weeks ago, watching Tottenham try and, yeah. And there was no animosity towards Cunha in that stadium. Like you wouldn't, if you'd have just been dropped in the stadium, you would have that, you would have thought, Cunha's the hero, etc. So there's been so much talk online about loads of people saying, I don't want Cunha to play and all this, that, and the other. And I was just reflecting on that. I was thinking there was no animosity to him then, and there could have been at that point. And there wasn't. He came on and he scored. He was back in the team last week. They'd won. The week before he said, no, I'm sticking with the same team. It's winning. I felt he would do the same again. I came to the conclusion it was like if he didn't start Cunha, it was making a headline that didn't need to be there.
Yep.
So I come to the conclusion I was pretty confident he was going to play, and therefore he was the one. What a player he is! He's clearly he's a bit of a melt, isn't he? But what a player! It sounds like he's going to United.
Yeah, deal as good as done is what the rumours are.
I can understand the people going, and listen, United obviously could yet be in the Champions League next season, which will probably seal the deal for it. But I can still always understand the pull of why someone would want to go and play for that football club. Larson is possibly a little bit disappointed, a little bit like with the kind of the Isak scenario, just get the goal from it. But the headline really has said was that Sarr penalty save and what that did for him and Ait-Nouri.
Ait-Nouri and yep. And Jamie Vardy, like the week that he's announcing that he's going to be leaving Leicester, he didn't say retire, did he? He just said leaving Leicester.
No, he's gonna. I saw an interview with Wes Morgan, who was obviously the Leicester captain when they won the title, saying that he thought he could still do a job for someone in the Premier League. And
Nah.
I'm glad you said that. Thank you very much. Yeah, I think
Nah,
he'll go out to America, isn't he? He's got investment in the team out there.
has he?
Yeah.
Fair play. Go and do your thing. But yes, not what he would have wanted. He would have wanted to sign off with a goal at least, and
No,
still got
he's
the
had-
opportunity too against Southampton and so on.
Again, I mean, like I'm on Wildcard. You think, I'll put Vardy in for Southampton and then move it on.
No,
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 he might
no,
score,
no.
but I wouldn't see that being a whole. Like, good luck to him if it happens. They obviously also have the same as Everton, the Southampton Ipswich home games, 35-37. I can't see me picking any of them up, even though they've got those 2 home games left.
Yep. What's your thoughts?
Even if I went like an enabler, do I want to start it? And it's the same. It's 35 and 37, so it's the same as Everton as well. So the preference would be of Everton. I'd maybe look at it if it was 36 and 38, but don't think I do. And Mavadidi, by the way, we think is going to miss the rest of the season now. And they've been a bit more lively with him back in the team recently. He's out now as well.
Yeah. I'm not sure what to do with Cunha this week against City away. Ait-Nouri is easy for me to bench. Now that was always going to be the plan anyway. Cunha is one of those where it's like he's the star man. He's such a good player. He could return any game, any time. But it is City away. Like I think I'd be playing Bowen over Cunha this week, for example, with the home fixture in Tottenham. But I don't like benching Cunha.
No, I hear that. And any game, any time, it's not like he hasn't scored at places like Anfield this year. He has. And I think did he still get top bonus when he scored and they lost at Liverpool? I feel like he might have done. He's always in the bonus.
It sounds like a Cunha type of thing to do. Yeah.
When I saw that he scored, this is the truth. I feel like with him more than any other player in the league. When I saw that he scored, I thought that's 9 points. That's great to have that. So that's always potentially on the table for you. With him, he's like a perfect case in point. If you bought Cunha this week and weren't on free here, he's a perfect case in point in terms of why you should wait this week, because I don't think Palace Wolves comes forward to 36. But what if it does?
You're going to want him.
You ain't selling him, are you?
And you'll probably have him on your wild card, won't you?
You're going to keep him, and you'd look at the second game at Palace and think, well, Palace will be 3 days for a cup final. What's the team going to look like? Like Brian owned Palace away as a double. It's great. and then move him on to something when he blanks in 37. So he's a perfect case in point in terms of like holding your transfers and waiting for this information, which again, to repeat, will almost certainly come before Friday's deadline. It'd be astonishing if it doesn't really. No interest in Wolves otherwise though at the moment. But again, if they did double Ait-Nouri, I'd bench him this week and then play him in the double. I'd just get him in for the double. So he might even end up being my rotation, say with Everton. Where I'd
Yeah,
go, right, Ait-Nouri for the double, Brentford away 38, and I play the Everton player in 35 and 37.
37.
So,
Yeah.
something like that might fall into place for me, but I don't think they'll double. No interest in them other than those two players, Ait-Nouri and Cunha. But what a brilliant run they've had.
Let's talk about the Sunday games as well, James. Bournemouth 1, Manchester United 1. Let's start with the red card, shall we? I've
Go on.
seen
No, you go first. Go on.
I've seen people say that he slipped, and it's a bit harsh that he slipped. But I've also seen people say that even though he has slipped, it is still dangerous and reckless, and as a result, like you don't give mitigating circumstances for the fact that it's a slip. If it's still a foul, or it's still a foul, and it's still dangerous, still a red card, still a red card. Which I can understand, like both kind of points of view of what people are saying. For me, felt a bit harsh, but I don't know.
I agree it's harsh because clearly he does slip, but I also think he can pull out the tackle. And I
Mm,
think what happens is, in addition, we're talking about a split second decision. He slips and he panics and
yeah,
almost tries harder to win it. His right foot comes round like in a wrapping motion, which is a bit weird. That's how I know he's
S-
not pulled out. And the left foot, where he actually makes contact on the side of Maxwell's boots. You think it's quite low,
so Achilles almost, isn't it?
but yeah, but Maxwell's foot was off the floor, and if it
Mm,
wasn't, he was in massive trouble. So I can understand it. I personally would prefer that we go, that's not a red, but I'm explaining away why I can understand they've made that decision. I would not be surprised, however, on the precedents of the Bruno Fernandes one against Tottenham earlier in the season, where they deemed his action to be after a slip, and Fernandes also still kicked at Madison. We know it wasn't a red card offence, but he got off with it. Evan Nilsson might as well. But I don't think Fernandes one where he caught him was clearly not kind of endangering an opponent. It was just a little bit of a naughty trip. This one still could have endangered the opponent. So I've heard people say it's the worst red card of all time. I really don't feel that way
no,
at
yeah,
all. I think it's a borderline one, actually.
I'm with you. Like it's harsh, but understandable. Like sometimes that when they go by the letter of the law, you kind of feel like, okay, it's the letter of the law. I can understand if it's the letter of the law, it's the letter of the law. It just doesn't quite feel right. What happens if they overturn it? Do his points come like because the game week doesn't finish till
No, you're sent
only
off, mate. You don't
Thursday?
get no points back, mate. No. He's
No,
still sent off from
no,
the
but
game, mate. So doesn't matter.
yeah, I
Doesn't
didn't know
matter.
if it was within the same game week
Nah,
though.
it doesn't matter. No,
So the way
sorry.
that
Why are
BP,
you
the way
trying to
that
give
BP,
some people hope?
I don't care, James. I don't
Although,
know.
although
I don't know if
I,
it's ever happened, has it?
yeah, of course it has. I've seen a number of people say, well, at least I got one more point than Jimenez. So I've seen some celebrations out there because obviously he did assist
He
Semenyo's
did.
goal. What he's interested in here is, of course, it could be Bournemouth's fixture with City gets brought forward. That wouldn't be the best double, right? Villa at home and City away, but you'll have someone playing OOP, presumably, if the Evan Nilsson suspension stands. And old Dango might be a thing again, Suj. And
Mm.
Semenyo's the one that's in a little bit of form now.
What, two and
Um,
three? I can't stand Semenyo, mate. I had one goal out of him in like 15 games, and now he scored 2 and 3 after I got rid of him on the old wild card. I'm not
we
having none of Semenyo.
we had a discussion on Friday about Semenyo and his power shots and Onana. Although I don't think Onana had much of a chance with this one. But look, if they double, you'll be tempted to have a little bit of an interest, won't you?
I'll get Cliver. If Iraola said that Semenyo's going to play up front and he's going to be on all set pieces and he's going to take penalties, I still wouldn't buy him. I still buy Cliver. I
Okay.
just can't go back there to Semenyo, I'm afraid. Um, but I
Can
can
I
see
just
the
say
appeal.
on Clivert's booking yesterday, I obviously I owned him. I still have him. and you could see he was going to get booked about 5 seconds before he got booked. He was chasing back after someone. It's like he's one of them I know because he gets booked semi-regular as well. He's going to do what would be the football right thing to do here and take the concession of the yellow card and give the foul away. I could see it happening in slow mo. I was like, take my point off me now. You can see it was going to happen. Then he gets subbed not long afterwards because of the red card as well. So yeah, he's been I mean, obviously he's had a little bit of an injury problem, but there's not been a lot from him since obviously he returned either. Ultimately, unless Bournemouth did double, they're a conversation for final day. There'll be a great one for one day punch, you would think, with Leicester at home final day, but unless they double, there's no interest here. Kepa might be one comes on radar for me, Suj. Similar to what I just said about sort of like Ait-Nouri and an Everton one. If Bournemouth doubled 36 and then had Leicester at home in 38, I'm looking at something like Kepa Pickford. Then the two Everton games. It's more expensive than probably what I'd want to do in terms of two keepers, but if you can afford something at this stage of the season, you can afford it. And
Just do it.
I may well look at that sort of thing. I think Milos Kerkez will be getting cut for me. I think even if they doubled, I'd be cutting Milos Kerkez now. United. Well, at least is a positive result for them. And the equaliser was becoming inevitable, actually. I think Iraola is obviously someone I've been kind of watching closely because of Tottenham links and stuff. And it did really dawn on me that the intensity with which that they play out, they'd be one of the best teams to play against if they're down to 10 men. Because they just can't function the way that they want to with a man short. It hurts them more. You know, other teams will, all right, we'll just go into low block. It's not natural for them. They still want to be aggressive. So it was really kind of out the loop for them. They ended with like a back five on the pitch. The equaliser felt like it was inevitable. I was watching the game as a Kerkez owner thinking, there's no way I'm getting out of this. United are going to score. And credit to them for putting that pressure on at the end. And drawing at Bournemouth is not a shameful result. It gives a little bit of positivity going into the week. Højlund's scoring is important because he is going to be important for them for this period of a run-in. I think the big takeaway on United yesterday was Amrim's pre-game comments pretty much admitting that he's going to mass rotate at Brentford next weekend because it falls in between the semi-final games. So for me on Wildcard, no interest in Manchester United whatsoever, basically. The fixtures aren't brilliant anyway. West Ham at home 36, okay, but again, it could be 3 days after a semi. So Bruno Fernandes, a semi that could go to extra time. Bruno Fernandes, unfortunately, doesn't appeal to me. I think he's having an absolutely brilliant spell, by the way. I think he's playing so well at the moment. Then fixtures aren't good enough. And particularly to even know that even with him, there would be a minor risk that he doesn't start the next two. No interest in that. So the takeaway is the interest
is it
in
Mbomo or Mbomo and Wissa? That's the question.
For me, I would like both, particularly when you look at Brentford the following week, Ipswich away in 36. I want both.
Yeah.
And I possibly want a defensive piece of that as well with Collins or Flecken maybe.
I know we talked about Bowen being captainable, but with the rotation in Manchester United and the attacking intent of Brentford sometimes, I think Bowen's captain material this week.
He absolutely is.
Yeah,
I think that's where I'm going. This week, when you look down at it, I mean, the ones that really appeal for me most on the fixtures are Bumo and Bowen. Playing Manchester United and Tottenham respectively. It's easy to understand why that they're attractive. Marmoush against Wolves is certainly within the running for me. Isak at Brighton is okay, but doesn't feel like a haul. Salah, you can obviously just revert to away to Chelsea. Doesn't feel great. If you own Saka against Bournemouth, I guess you're a little bit concerned does he even start? So then what you're looking at, things like Mateta Eze against Forest, maybe. Like, he's not great for captaincy this week. Watkins against Fulham doesn't scream at you, does it?
No.
I think it's every chance I'll go Bumo captain this week. Every chance. I think it'd be him or Marmoush for me, one of the two.
Let's talk about the last game, James, as much as you may not want to. Liverpool 5, Tottenham 1. After the game against you earlier this season at your place when they obviously beat you 6-3, wasn't it? The way I described that game then was boys against men, because they just controlled it with a level of just superiority. It was the same again. Now, I understand that the kind of defensive side of your team was rotated, and you've got more important stuff on Thursday to worry about. But sometimes a team just has another team's number, and at this moment in time, Liverpool seem to have yours. They just have this air of like, yeah. I don't want to say it. I feel like a bit of an arse even saying it to you, but you know that old, it's only Tottenham lads. I feel like they've got that in their head, and they just know that they're going to score against you 4 or 5, and they have done in all of the most recent games. Yeah, it felt, that result just felt an inevitability, unfortunately.
Yeah,
For you.
no one's arguing. Let's come back to Tottenham.
And there's no shame in losing to them like that. They were on it.
There is. Yeah, there is.
No, I mean, they were on it. They were on it.
Of course they were. Of course they were.
And you're talking about the team that are top against the team that are 16th.
No, we got slapped embarrassingly though, so that's not on, right? Listen, no one was expecting Tottenham to get a result this weekend, and yes, we've rotated a few, but that was particularly bad. Firstly, importantly, let's obviously congratulate all our they said Newcastle then, not yet. That's a couple of years away. Our Liverpool followers, listeners, viewers, etc. Congratulations, you've won the title, and you thoroughly deserve to do so. There's zero doubt about that. You've been the best team this season by a distance, and showed that quality again yesterday. He picked the team slot that I thought he would pick, i.e. the 11 that had contributed the most to this season for them. So it wasn't a surprise to me. It's again why I kind of felt comfortable to go with Luis Diaz. I know there was a chance Jota could have started, for example. But yeah, all we did by us scoring was just like poke the bear and piss them off, basically. Had some outstanding performers. They're so ruthless on transition. The midfield, they're aggressive. The centre-backs have been outstanding this season. They're a top team. They thoroughly deserve to win it. That said, from the fantasy perspective, it's probably Mo or nothing. And there is a case to go against for me on Wildcard. Because when you look at the captaincy, we just spoke about captaincy for 35. Arsenal own 36. Sit here at Southampton, for example, even if it's just a single, I think I'm still probably going to go like a Marmouche there.
Marmouche, yeah.
37 is Brighton away. All right, well, if Watkins hasn't had his double moved, he's at home to Tottenham. There's other options there that are arguably better. And Palace final day, you're still looking at things like Isak, or, Saka's going to be back by then, even punt a rogue Bournemouth player. Palace I think it's better for Liverpool on that final day that Palace have got to the final, because they'll be thinking about that the following week, which would be perfectly understandable. There's no reason to think Palace wouldn't pick a strong team. I don't think Palace go to Liverpool final day and mass rotate. They could do, in fairness, because if they end up playing Wolves on the Thursday, as I've predicted, and then it's Liverpool Sunday before the final, they might actually. So Salah could end up being the best on final day. But the problem is, in terms of taking him on, it's like, where am I going?
Yep.
Am I going to Palmer or Saka or De Bruyne or Son or Fernandes? I haven't spoke up any of these as potential players of interest. I think he's going to sit there. And if there's any week that I'm not comfortable with taking him on for captaincy, then just revert to him. Feels like the safest play, and just accept that he's going to be a loser in the book for me, but not a bad one. I've no real interest in Liverpool players otherwise with those fixtures left. And I wouldn't be surprised if they got beat at Chelsea at the weekend, actually. I could foresee that.
I added Van Dijk, and I think that's fine. Like, he's just going to be steady throughout the rest of the season. I might pick up an attacking return. I reckon there's a clean sheet or two in there as well. I'll be playing him most weeks.
Have you got him bust to play this week?
Yeah.
What, with 4 at the back?
No, 3 at the back.
Are you benching?
As it stands, Ait-Nouri and Livramento.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Don't feel great, though.
It's all right. I think it's fine. Like, Chelsea haven't been tearing it up, have they?
No, but there is something to be said of that game is more important to Chelsea now than it is to Liverpool.
Yep.
And I think
but
Chelsea
still a far superior team.
Yeah, they're the best team, right? But also we saw when they did win the title a few years ago, and I know it was weird because it was COVID, but there was a few results after they got slapped at Man City, they lost to Arsenal. There was a few results in that run-in. Once they've got over the line, I wouldn't be that shocked if that sort of thing happened again. They don't need to do anything. They should be enjoying themselves. The one benefit for Liverpool is the main team is fit. So it's not like they're plugging kind of injury problems. I know obviously Connor Bradley missed out the weekend. I don't see me looking at Trent, even though I've probably plays from here. The kind of concerns of if he'd get booed and stuff has obviously not materialised. The goal at Leicester massively
Yep.
helped with that. I I don't see me going for him now.
Yeah,
I
I'm
don't
not
fancy
adding.
them enough in the
I'm
with
not
what's
adding
left.
now between now and the end of the season. Definitely not. You're right.
I think their fixtures aren't
Chris
great. I think Mo will stay. Don't see me going anything else.
Chris Woods, one of our listeners, wants to know if these thrashings hurt more or less now that you're total dog shite.
Oh,
For the
less,
Spurs
less.
section, they hurt
You,
less.
you're numb to
You're
it.
expecting it week in, week out.
I mean, look,
Disappointed?
I predicted us to lose by 3. We lost by 4.
Mm,
I said to the wife because obviously we went in front, and I watched the game at home. She was in a different room, and she walked in, and it was 3-1. She went, "Oh," and I'm like, "It's expected." She's like, "Weren't you winning now?" I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "I just don't want to get battered." And then obviously quite early in the second half, it's like we're going to get really bad. It was
yeah.
going to get silly, and
And they didn't
it
really
should
turn the
have.
heat up, did they? I
No,
mean, they could
they were
have. They could
literally
have.
having a party on the
Strolling.
football pitch, right? Which is perfectly understandable. You think of things like Nunes going through and trying to square it to Salah and stuff. He should just be scoring. So they absolutely could have won by more. Yeah, I'm gonna make no excuses for that yesterday. I think that there's games like last Monday against Forest. I don't think we played too badly, and that was obviously with some rotated players. This was a shocker. We actually didn't start too badly. Some of the play when we had the ball in the opening 15 minutes or so was okay. Then Liverpool seemed to suss it out and just swarm us. Runners off the ball was just way too much for a side like us. Is just kind of passive to any aggressive running coming through us. So yeah, really disappointing. The first half was bad. The second half was just end the game. It was horrendous.
Yeah.
Jesus, difficult to pick out anyone that did okay. Vicario was a nightmare in goal. I
Mm.
defend him a lot. His distribution was so bad in the game. Difficult to pick out positives. You can all see now why I've been telling you Archie Gray is not ready to play in midfield. I don't want to single him out as a kid, but like he's just not ready. I'm sure he will be at some point, but he's not ready. Benton Cole was just rested, so I presume it will come back into the team for Thursday night. If Tottenham double in 36, I was asked this question yesterday. What would I do if Tottenham doubled in 36 and had, you know, Norway, the Arctic Circle away on the Thursday night, Palace Sunday, and then presumably now it would maybe be Villa away on the Thursday. You've got more chance of maybe getting someone would play twice. But what I said to yesterday to the person who asked me was the only way I would consider a Tottenham player for the double is if it was the only double, i.e., I'm having treble Villa and I might try and sneak like a Vicario in because he'll be busy. But maybe a Johnson as a pump. But what I think is I'm spending that sort of money on Johnson. I wouldn't want to start him in any other game.
Yep.
So no, I'd just be largely, in most cases,
Ignore.
ignoring. If Tottenham get a double, you should be all over Villa. That's the big message here. Clearly, our season is all about Thursdays.
Good, good, cool. James, do you want to? That's a wrap on the games. Obviously, Forest and Brentford is on Thursday night, so we'll see what happens with that. Do you want to let the listeners know what they got content-wise for the rest of this week, and when things will get covered off? We can answer a few questions here on the internet.
Yeah, fan view podcast tomorrow. If you think like we haven't got in much detail on Liverpool, well, Dan Lodge joining me. I'm recording with him tonight. I'll be out available for you tomorrow, talking about Liverpool's season and their success. Clayton will be joining me for the Clayton and James show Wednesday. It'll obviously include a bit of discussion on obviously Arsenal's first leg against PSG is on Tuesday night. Thursday, Clash of the Correspondents. It's Nottingham Forest versus Brentford with Mark Summons and Tom Med. It is going to be split into two halves. It will be released as one podcast, but the lads aren't going to be together. We just unfortunately have not been able to pick a time where we could all record together. But if you're like me and on Wildcard this week, Forest and Brentford are very important. So we'll still be proceeding with that. And on Friday, I got another fan view podcast for you as well, with Jack Toner, our Burnley correspondent, and our new Leeds correspondent, Ed Salinger, both joining me for discussion on their promotion back to the Premier League. Obviously, deadline this week is Friday. So deadline stream is at 5:30 p.m. UK time for those on YouTube. If you want to support the show, it's www.patreon.com/Planet FPL. Podcast this week include a Q&A today. Tomorrow's UCL Fantasy. Wednesday's Tottenham, as you said. Ask James is on Patreon on Thursday this week. And we'll have our Game Week 35 preview, the differential show on Friday, where I'll probably be going, yep, Suj, this is my wildcard draft once Thursday night is all gone and out the way. And for advanced tier patrons, which should also be available for intermediate plus tier patrons, I've got a special guest joining me for the midweek FPL dilemma this week. Mr. Andy Martin is also on wildcard this week, and we're going to argue about drafts. Because
Lovely, jubbly.
you know Andy's like rogue stuff, and Andy will be like, no, you draft shit, James. So I'm looking forward to that.
Good, good, good. Yeah, it sounds like that'll be fun. Cool. Let's do a few questions, James, that we've had in on the internet. There are a couple of questions here that we've had in that I'm going to say we're not going to answer, but I will beg you to ask Dan Lord tonight when you speak to him, because they're about Liverpool. Where does Liverpool's title win rank amongst others? And also regarding tactics and signings, what do you think Slot will want to do next season to improve the Liverpool team? I think that conversation is probably best had with Dan.
Yeah, I think I'm actually going to do an analysis, a statistical analysis for our patrons on Talking Tactics this week of how Liverpool compare to other title winners. I've not got into the detail yet to give you any spoilers or answers on that. I think the reason people might have just kind of neutral opinion, the reason people might be downplaying what Liverpool have done this season is twofold. I don't want to say they've crawled over the line, but they've been able to crawl over the line because there hasn't been a challenger to them. But ultimately, they've won this league by a mile because they're the only team that stayed consistent. And it's one, I think, for the neutral won't stay in the memories because it's not like a close title race. It obviously will do for Liverpool fans. Ultimately, Liverpool on what, 81 is it? Points, is it, Such? So they can still finish on 93. Right, that's a bloody good total. I think that would rank them sort of 10th or so, I think, overall.
Of all time, yeah.
So like it's still potentially, and I don't think they will get to that many, by the way, because they don't need to. But you could probably bet that if Liverpool did have to get to that total, they would.
Yep.
So there's every chance over this period, like the defeat at Fulham, maybe they'd have finished on 96, right? I think they've been the best team by a distance. I think the comparing is difficult. It's one of the great successes. It won't help them as well that it's like Klopp's incredible team had a couple of occasions where it got more points and finished second. So you go, oh, the Klopp team that finished second was better. That's not necessarily the case. They've had an outstanding season, will be remembered as extremely good title winners. It's, someone asked me yesterday, is this the start of a dynasty? We're a long way from talking about that sort of thing because I think, City and Arsenal certainly at least will both expect to be closer next year. And there's a few others, Newcastle, maybe Chelsea will expect to be closer as well.
Cool. We talked about captaincy for this week, and one name we didn't mention at all in this entire show was KDB. Shiva says, do you think KDB was benched because of a possibility of extra time, or he's not first choice against these kind of oppositions or what have you? So he's obviously not played. Do you think he'll come back in and does that against Wolves, and does that make him a captaincy option?
Well, City changed tactically a little bit again yesterday where we played without a 9 completely. Played with Marmoush and Sessegnon really high and wide, and played with kind of like two 10s with Jack Grealish actually filling the left-sided space of that. And often he was City's highest player in position, particularly in the first half. So ultimately it comes down to what Pep wants to do with tactics. I don't think you could look at Kevin De Bruyne for this run-in and think Kevin De Bruyne certainly starts this weekend or definitely starts at Southampton in 36. So I don't think you could. Also, is it worth suggesting that there's obviously been quite a few comments over the last couple of weeks, and De Bruyne has I expressed disappointment that he was not offered a new contract by City, right? Pretty much saying he would have stayed if he'd been offered a new contract. And City have got a job to do to get points on the board to make sure they get over the line here. And I'm pretty confident they will do, plus obviously winning the semi-final yesterday. Is there a chance even that Pep's gone, right, I want people focused who are definitely going to be part of this regrowth of City? That's a possibility, isn't it? So I was looking at thinking if they double 36, I'll probably take a chance on him. Otherwise, again, I think I'll leave it be, but I would not be captaining him on Friday night. Obviously, look, it is the early kickoff in terms of for the deadline, so there's every chance you might know. If you've got him and you want to captain him because you know he's going to play, then I'd have no problem with that. But I certainly wouldn't be planning to do so at the moment.
Right. Last but not least, James, few questions that we've had in on Arseman. I know what the answer. People asking whether it should be 35, whether it should be 36. Is the answer to anyone thinking about the Arsemanship? Wait. Literally wait until we know what's happening with the doubles and the fixtures.
I mean, with the arse man, there's no reason you should be activating early in the week anyway. What if a team had a sudden outbreak of illness or something and then couldn't fulfill a fixture? That's like a nightmare scenario, isn't it? So
Your
you
lot
should,
might have lasagna on Friday night, mate.
we could do, mate. Maybe we'll beat you this time. To be honest, might just be a good thing. just, just have the shits and just no one plays at West Ham on Sunday. I've said this previously. Like, if Tottenham do, as I think will happen, play Villa on the Sunday night, if Tottenham had the final 3 days later, I wouldn't even have Ange go. Never mind the team. I'd literally just under 21s go and take like Kinski, Werner aren't registered in Europa, and take someone like Ben Davis as like captain. Take like a mild bit of experience for something like that. And otherwise, even people like Richarlison be like, no, you're not going, stay with the team and get yourself ready for Wednesday night. There is a joke in there about you may be better off if Ange doesn't go. And I recognise that, which is why I've already emptied out the joke possibility. What was your question, Suj? Oh, Arsenal.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if Villa Tottenham did get brought forward, does Emery come on to it? There's no bonus in it, but does Emery? I think if it was me, this is shitty. I think I'd just go Pep.
Keep it safe.
Particularly if the Bournemouth game come forward, I'd be thinking three fixtures, similar to what I had with like Eddie Howe, the first game, then the double, and then chain it on to something else for the last one. Obviously, that last one's going to be a single, but you could, if you went Pep for Wolves at home, Southampton away, Bournemouth at home, you've got to be thinking at sort of min 25 points or so, I think. Then for the last one, you go, right, okay, now I'm going to gamble Potter versus Forest or Hertzler versus Liverpool or something like that, right? That's probably how I'd be playing if it comes forward. Otherwise, it's shite. I would start with, as it stands, I would go Glasner now.
Cool.
It's Forest at home Monday night and then see how you feel afterwards.
Okie dokie, James, that's a wrap on the questions that we've had in. Anything you want to chuck in from Blue Sky, or are we done with this episode of Planet FPL?
Someone wanted a wildcard draft. Tough, but I've given you enough names that are under consideration. Four Gras FPL says, hi, James. Osula hasn't played many minutes so far this season, but wonder if you have any opinions on him and what he might become for Newcastle. Cheers, mate. I've not seen much of him. Obviously, seen him a bit at Sheffield United previously as well. Took the headed goal really well at the weekend. I would suggest that Newcastle will probably be in the market for a new forward this summer. And that's assuming that Isak stays. I think Callum Wilson will probably be leaving the club in the summer. So whether Osula would be ready and relied upon to be the first choice backup, considering although he's done largely quite well this season, Isak does have a tendency to get the odd injury. I think Newcastle will be in the market for a striker, particularly if they qualify for the Champions League. So I would be surprised if Isak left in 2 years that Osula was going to be Newcastle's top boy. And one more for you, Suj. I think we've got time. The Flying Postman says, I'm top 300. Well done. But literally everyone, 95% above me in rank, have the same team as me with one or two different players. How can we make the difference and climb up the ranks a bit? That's one for you, Suj, because you're used to being at that sort of rank, aren't you?
Oh, really? Yeah.
I mean, I could also, yeah.
I do think it's like with stuff like this, it's really important to understand like what you want to get out of it, right? I could play very safe between now and the end of the season and probably get myself 75, 70k, something like that. So 50k rank rise on where I am right now, inside the top 100k either way. But I could also play rogue and go as low as 250, but maybe as high as 50 or even 40. What do you want to do, right? Do you care about your rank history? or do you not? And in which case, go rogue and look for those differential kind of players. Every week on live FPL, whenever I look at the effective ownership, it makes me a little bit sad, I would say. You know, when you look at your team and you're like, fucking hell, 9 out of my 11 players are over 80% effective owned anyway. Where am I even gaining any rank from?
But this is the same every year, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is. So you then hunt for those differentials that have lower ownership, and that's where you can potentially get these rises. But it is disappointing when you see such high ownership across everything. But then this season, more than any, these players with high ownership have been delivering quite regularly, which is why it's been hard to make ground. Like I spent 15 to 20 weeks, James, never lower than 400k and never higher than 300k. Then I had a period where I jumped up into the hundreds, but then I've never been lower than 150 and I've never been higher than 100. And I've stayed within that kind of tunnel.
The best thing for the game for the end of this season, and I'm sure some will disagree with this, who plan to bench boost 36 and stuff like that, we'd warned you, is that there's no doubles left. Because then, let's just say Villa Tottenham comes forward to 36, right, hypothetically. Right. There'll be people carrying Villa players from the last double in a good position. But one player you might not have been carrying is Ollie Watkins. And the reason I keep mentioning Ollie Watkins is because Marcus Rashford now has a hamstring injury and may not play for Villa again. We don't know yet, right? The exact prognosis. But hamstring is enough to make me think, that's a couple of weeks. Right, Ollie Watkins, if he's got Tottenham as a second game in 36, is an unbelievable captaincy option in that week. He's going to be so popular. It's not hiding it. Whereas, if the game stays in 37, people got a decision to make. Well, it might be Tottenham kind of B- team at Villa. Do I need to steam into Watkins, or am I looking at other teams who've got like a decent couple of fixtures, right? So you'll get more of a spread. The less doubles, ultimately, the better the spread, right? It's natural that if you've got teams who've got double game weeks, you're going to gravitate towards those teams. For your person who's 300 overall, I would sell Salah.
Go for it.
If you're in that position,
the only thing is, what are you going to do with the money? Like, there's not exactly like loads of other places where you can go and spend the money.
But then the point would be, right? So when Jamie Piggott won it a couple of years ago, right, there was a lot of, will KDB play twice? And Salah still had a double, right? And he went and captained KDB and it blew up. And then the one he had the following week, it might have been Kane or Son, I can't remember. It blew up as well, right? And he got himself in a position where genuinely that was, I can't remember where Jamie was with about 4 weeks to go, but he was roughly about there, I think. Right, yep. At 300, I don't know what the gap is to first, and you might go, oh, it's way too big. But try and win it. I don't know. I have no idea what the gap is. If the gap's like 200-300 points, then fine, it's too big. But if it's like under 100, like do something mental to try and win this game is what I would suggest. So, yeah, you'd be taking on Mo Capsy every week. Just completely take him on. Just completely take him on under that sort of circumstance. But you're right. There'll be other people, I want to finish top 10k or 50k or whatever. What do you want? All right? And don't be led by what other people tell you this is what you should do. So if that person is at 300, is like, I don't want to come first. I really want to hold on to top 1k. Fine. Sit and protect. But I think judging by the question, he wants to try and win it. So go as rogue as you can, even if you don't even necessarily believe in the selection. So maybe it will be, oh shit, Kevin De Bruyne is playing, 10 minutes before deadline. Right, Salah to De Bruyne, put the armband on him, go. Maybe it is something like that.
Yep. Cool. Listeners, thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Planet FPL. Always a pleasure to have your ears listening. Make sure you subscribe wherever you're listening to the podcast, just so that you get notified as soon as our additional content goes live throughout the course of the week. If you're over on YouTube, you know what they say, smash a like, hit the bell, and make sure you're subscribed to the show. And as with the podcast, you'll get notified when stuff goes live. Other than that, if you can, kind of hold fire this week. We'll get the fixture announcements. We'll see what happens with Thursday night for you guys in the semi-finals as well. And obviously, is it Arsenal playing PSG on Tuesday, right?
Fuck them.
Is that right?
Fuck them.
Let's wait and see. You never know, James. They might get smashed 4-0 or something and might change your opinion towards them. But yes, let's see what happens with European football and the fixture announcements. And have a great week. Oh, of course, there's another game in this game week still left to go as well.
No, I've got no skin in it, so I don't care.
Yes, and Bomo's going to come back to haunt you. Listeners, most importantly, stay safe and look after yourselves. Ciao for now.
Thanks, everyone. Be nice to each other and play it your way. Cue music, please. Man, chop.